Hi, my name is Amanda Dewar, and I'm a barrel racer from Canada. In 2011, I was down in the States in Texas barrel racing, and I hadn't been feeling very well, and I went through a free head and neck screening. It's kind of a funny story. Usually they don't have those types of things at horse shows or at rodeos, but it was there and we were killing time. And I hadn't been feeling real well for about a year leading up to this, and my health was just deteriorating more and more every week. And at this screening, they found a lump in my neck, and they said that it definitely needed some further investigation. So while I was in an area where there were a lot of doctors and a really strong medical system readily available, as long as you had the cash, I thought I would go and look into it a little more. So I went to a specialist, and he was able to get me in for an ultrasound and blood work right away. And that's when they found the tumor. At that point, he said that I was going to need a biopsy as soon as possible, and I had already spent a couple $1,000s on the ultrasound and the blood work and the appointments down there, and he said the biopsy was going to be around another $4,800 American, and I knew that on a barrel racer's budget and salary, there was no way I was going to be able to afford that. So I came back to Canada, and I eventually ended up having surgery, and shortly after I received a phone call telling me that I had cancer. And at that point, everything really changed. What I was going to do next week, next month, even next year, everything got turned upside down. And I knew that I didn't really know, I guess, what I was in for. So that kind of began a process of a lot of doctor appointments, medical appointments, treatments, surgeries. A lot of times it was 2 hours driving one way at least to a doctor's appointment 3 times a week. From there, I guess it became financially difficult being in my early 20s and finding out that you have cancer and you're not prepared for something like that. About 10 years prior to finding out that I had cancer, an insurance salesman came out to my mom and dad's farm and talked to them about some of the different policies that were available, and my mom and dad had purchased a critical illness insurance policy for myself, and at that time it seemed a little silly because I was completely healthy and didn't have any concerns, but it really came in handy because going through a lot of the expenses and going through a long time off work and without a whole lot of backing in my early 20s, I didn't have the resources to deal with something like this. Between the costs of driving to appointments, time off work, going down to the States for treatment, and getting a lot of medical advice from the doctors down in the States and tests, it added up quite quickly. This insurance policy, I can't even remember what it costed. I kind of forgot I had it. I just kept paying it annually, and I had even cut the coverage in half. I was thinking about getting rid of it completely, and I'm very thankful that I didn't, because if I didn't have that coverage, I don't know if I would be able to be back rodeoing and if I would have been able to keep my horses and be able to bounce back quite as quickly as I am. I've had to make a lot of sacrifices through it, but I'm so thankful that I've had this support from having this insurance policy. Being really passionate about rodeo and barrel racing is something that really kept me motivated while I was going through this, and I was looking forward to when I'd be able to climb back on my horse and start hitting the highway again and getting to some rodeos and starting to compete and taking care of my horse instead of worrying about what was going on in my health. And I started conditioning again the spring of 2014, and I've been able to start back rodeoing and get back in the groove of things. It feels pretty good to be going down the road doing what you love, and especially when there's a time you don't know if you're ever going to be able to do it again. And I am so thankful that I had this insurance package. So I had a really good season this past year back. There were highs and lows, but the biggest part is I was back rodeoing again, and that meant more than anything.